don't forget, he told us last night that Pierre Gasly wasn't going to get a penalty for his possible impeding. He knows his stuff, that boy.
And he didn't get a penalty.
He did get a penalty.
So, yeah, how many cars we've got then in the DRS train then? With 7 or 8 behind George Russell at the moment.
We have a very close battle going on here. Pierre Gasly just holding on to 8th place ahead of Sergio Perez. They were perilously close to coming into contact. But is Sergio Perez going to take a bit more of an advantage going down the straight towards the parabolic? Here is George Russell, tries around the outside of Oscar Piastri once again, and that was a little easier for Oscar Piastri to fight. Russell's given it a right on go here, but he just can't take that 4th place off the Australian driver.
Now he's having to take a wide, high line into that parabolic corner at the end of the 2nd straight. And Piastri's too wise for that one and too calm.
Both of these drivers winning their F2 titles as rookies here in Abu Dhabi a few years ago, both enjoying excellent careers now in Formula One. I'm sure we'll do so for many, many years to come. Out in front, 1.4 seconds, the gap between Verstappen and Leclerc. Pretty much the same gap back to Norris in 3rd. Piastri just losing a little bit to his teammate whilst he fends off George Russell. Yuki Tsunoda is still right there in the hunt, but Fernando Alonso has a bit of DRS, and Tsunoda now won't get the DRS behind George Russell, so that could impact that battle. No further investigation for Joe and for Albon, forcing another driver off the track. We'll see about Magnus and the Sargent as we head down to Ted Kravitz.
Thank you, Crofty. Yes, down the pit lane. So, Mercedes, how's it going for them? Not well. This George Russell being stuck behind the McLarens. Not that Russell has an inherently much faster car, but it's just ruining their strategy. So they try to fight Ferrari in the constructors. Hamilton says he just doesn't have the pace to get anywhere past Sergio Perez and therefore Pierre Gasly in front of them. And Ocon actually very close behind Hamilton. So that's a very close fight that we're watching. So yeah, not looking good for Mercedes.
No, it's not. Not for Hamilton, and neither for George Russell once again as he tries to get past Oscar Piastri. Piastri, the first rookie in Formula One to take multiple podiums in a season since Lewis Hamilton did it for McLaren back in 2007, their first full season in Formula One. He's had an excellent season, he really has, and so his manager Mark Webber a little earlier on, and Mark was absolutely beaming about the progress of his young protege during the course of this year. He's having a tough old night defending against George Russell. Currently, these are the possible race strategies. It's medium and hard all the way through. No one's talking really about running the soft tyre unless we get late safety car. All the potential for a fastest lap right at the end of this race. There's definitely, Martin, now the race settling down a bit amongst the top 3. Bit of pace management going on. Look after the tyres, make sure they can stick to whatever plan A is for them tonight.
Yeah, and Leclerc.
This is good, Oscar. Defending well. Tyre management looks good.
It is good, but this is strong from George Russell because look how close he's getting to Oscar Piastri, who positions that car absolutely perfectly as Sergio Perez in the background is making a move on Gasly, who locked up going into that chicane, and that is coming under pressure. I think Perez might have got Gasly as here comes George Russell with Oscar Piastri now. Into turn 9 we go. Russell is a car length ahead and pulls out ahead of Oscar Piastri to get that move done.
Yeah, Piastri locked up as well going into turn 6. That put him out of position for 7, and that's what made the difference then for George Russell, who I think will scamper down the road now, such as his pace, and after Lando Norris.
Let's have a look at it again. He looks strong going down the first of the back straights, picked up a beautiful slipstream with the DRS as well, and as you can see, he's a car length ahead before they get into turn 9 and have to apply the brakes.
Yeah, and now it's Piastri who's going to have to meet the turbulent air from the back of the Mercedes. But I tell you what, he's got Yuki Tsunoda on his tail now as Oscar Piastri. Tsunoda driving a beautiful race after his best ever qualifying position.
I was trying to...
right from the slowly getting a bit hurt. Okay, understood.
I was trying to follow Gasly and Perez in the 8th and 9th battle. I thought Perez had just got ahead of Gasly, who locked up a little bit going into turn 6, but Perez couldn't quite get past him. As we head down the back straight once more, Oscar Piastri under pressure here from Yuki Tsunoda, but it seems a few car lengths too much for Tsunoda to make the move, as Perez is going to have a look on Gasly once again. Which way does he go? He's being forced round the outside Gasly putting up the strong fight once more, and off the turn 7 chicane, Perez gets a great launch and gets DRS once more. So can he make a move around turn 9? He's level with Gasly. He's ahead of Gasly. He's got the move done this time. Perez up into 8th place. Anthony at Sky Race Control.
Just a quick one on Yuki Tsunoda. He's going to be putting Oscar Piastri under more and more pressure if Piastri falls behind Russell. That time around, he was within DRS of Russell, so he was safe. It might not be the case for too much longer, but Tsunoda's been asked, are we okay for plan A? He came on as cool as a cucumber. Yeah, plan A's good. And he's been told we don't have to manage the tyres through turn 3 anymore like he has been. He's seriously quick in this race.
But I do wonder, Martin, are we starting to see early signs of tyre degradation affecting, as Fernando Alonso now comes into the pits, a lot of the drivers out there?
Yeah, they're hoping to get as far as the early 20s. As you reported, Alonso in the pit lane, they were hoping to get to do a one-stopper. They needed to get nearer lap 20, but we'll see how the hard compound tyres perform from there. But I think Sainz is pacing himself, but he's not exactly had electric pace overall back there in 13 on the hard tyres, and nor a Stroll for that matter. So sometimes they put these hard compound tyres on, and they're just magic.
Yeah.
And of course, they only had 2 sets for the entire event. So they don't know anything about them.
And we didn't get much running in the practice sessions for a lot of the drivers. They had to give up their seat in FP1 for the rookies, 10 of them to come in. And then FP2, Sainz crashed, Hulkenberg crashed, and we lost about 40 minutes of action. So they didn't get the long runs done.
It would be oh so tight between Ferrari and Mercedes-Benz at the moment, wouldn't it? With Leclerc up there getting 18 points at the moment, Russell down in 4th, Hamilton down in 10th with 1 championship point. That's going to play out this evening. That's going to get pretty feisty towards the end of the Grand Prix between those 2 great teams.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to go to the wire, that's for sure. Oscar Piastri was doing his best to manage those tyres and defend at the same time. And those tyres have now given up the ghost. So into the pits comes Piastri, but I think this is also to cover off that early stop from Fernando Alonso, who wasn't that far behind him in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's a 22-second cost total to come through the pit lane, stop, go under the tunnel, and find your way back, or you feed into the outside of turn 2, straight into turn 3. It's a highly unusual pit lane here as you see him emerge, and now he can glass it.
Thought it might be a bit tight. 0.3 of a second that McLaren was stationary for less time than Fernando Alonso, and that kept Oscar Piastri ahead of Fernando Alonso.
Alonso tyres fully warmed though, he'll get the DRS down this straight as well. Piastri might have his hands full there for a few corners to keep the Spaniard behind him.
Youngest man in Formula One, oldest man in Formula One. Youngest man wins this battle on that straight.
Oh, he's locked up again into 6. That puts him out of position for 7. And Alonso will again have DRS. But what impressed me there about Piastri is he didn't go and defend fresh air. He didn't go and make a defence. He didn't have to. He was confident enough that Alonso wasn't going to lunge him, and therefore he kept his momentum.
Right, so Lando Norris has come into the pits. George Russell is following him into the pits as well. Ted, down to you.
So Lando's position there. Oh, there's a little bit of it's the delay. Oh, no, it's a slow stop. Fernando Norris has been passed by George Russell. Oh, McLaren, there was a problem first of all on the front left and then on the rear as well. So that's a gift, a present from McLaren to Mercedes. George leads Lando.
Just wondered there if Lando Norris locked up a little bit coming into his pit box as well. It was a bit off his marks, which didn't make it very easy for the pit crew. They come out onto the track, Russell ahead of Lando Norris, and then Oscar Piastri ahead of Fernando Alonso. And these 4 cars a lot closer together than they were before the pit stops.
Yeah, Norris.
It was Hamilton.
Contact, didn't it?
Behind Pierre Gasly. Is he going for a move on Gasly?
Broken the left front wing. You can see the upright on Lewis's front wing look, pointing 20-30 degrees in the wrong direction.
Chasing Pierre Gasly for 5th place. Esteban Ocon has not been at all well this week. He's been getting as much sleep, even while he's at the track, as he possibly can. In 7th place, looking to see if he can pick up any scraps. Yeah, contact made is hanging on. It's not fallen off that front wing, but it's certainly hanging to a more acute angle. Let's have a look, Martin. It's exactly what happened here. Into the chicane we go. There's the lockup. There's the contact.
Yeah, so the Alpine got on the front and then turns in. It was carrying a lot of momentum. I think he could do anything about it. It's interesting that Verstappen and Leclerc haven't pitted, isn't it? They're not responding.
He locked up and he couldn't stop. That was the trouble there. Hamilton has pitted and is coming out ahead of Esteban Ocon. He already was ahead of Esteban Ocon. Pierre Gasly has continued onwards. I would imagine they haven't changed that front wing. No, they have not changed that front wing on the Mercedes. So Lewis is going to have to live with that, Martin, for the rest of the race.
He is, and they'll have to convince the stewards that that's not dangerous to marshals, quarter workers, fans, what have you, that it's structure, the integrity of the structure of that wing can live with that. They'll be having a look at that.
On board now with George Russell in the other Mercedes. George Russell, after making his pit stop, is behind Alex Albon, who hasn't stopped in this race yet. This should be a fairly easy overtake, and it was a fairly easy overtake for George Russell, who's back up into the top 9.
So it's pretty bold, isn't it, out front for those that then Verstappen pits now.
Leclerc carries on. The undercut is stronger than the overcut at this particular circuit. There's no problem with tyre warm-up as well. Esteban Ocon getting very close to the gearbox of Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes as they made their way around turn 11 and into turn 12, and that's a decent scrap that's emerging.
Yeah, definitely lost the front end. The front does again. Yeah, we're looking at it. We don't think there's too much damage.
Verstappen then pits, comes out in 7th place behind the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, who is going longer on those hard compound tyres. But yeah, the undercut, Martin, stronger than the overcut here. Are you surprised that Ferrari didn't respond to Verstappen coming in?
I'm surprised they didn't beat this coming in, to be honest. But yeah, and tried to control this race. So it was on its mark.
Yeah,
It's joking about a bit. It was right, but that's obviously the team that's been putting in blistering pit stops. What can you tell us, Anthony?
Well, I've had a listen to this actually on the onboard, and it seems like momentarily the car, it's like the clutch didn't fully engage, or disengage. So that's what you see, the bit of tramping going on as he comes to a standstill. I don't know whether his hand slipped off the clutch momentarily, off the paddle, or whatever happened, but it didn't sound healthy, put it that way, when he came into the pits there.
Yeah, it looked like they put down some rumble strips in the pit boxes. Here comes Esteban Ocon, trying to find a route through and a route past Lewis Hamilton, who positioned the Mercedes right in the middle of the track there. That is Charles Leclerc making his pit stop. Max Verstappen is just making his way around the final turn. Meanwhile, his teammate Sergio Perez comes into the pits. George Russell has just had the new fastest lap of the race. Yuki Tsunoda now leads this race from Stroll and Sainz. Leclerc will be coming out behind Verstappen still, and in about 5th place when he makes his way onto the track. And it's all action in the pit lane. Good stop from the Red Bull crew. They lost 9/10 to Perez at Alpine with Gasly.
Tsunoda, only the second time a Japanese driver has ever led a Grand Prix.
Can you remember the first?
Takuma Sato, we're looking at from Statman here. I'm playing that one for myself. And here we go, down the back straight. A lot of speed past the Alfa Romeo.
Valtteri Bottas on the hard tyre. They haven't stopped yet. That's George Russell making his way up into 7th place. And he's got Charles Leclerc just ahead of him. After stopping before Leclerc, look how Russell has got that much closer to the Ferrari here.
He has, hasn't he? He's flying along nicely, but Sainz has got a job to do here, holding up Max Verstappen if he gets a chance. He's on the hard compound tyre, he can run longer, can Carlos Sainz, because he was out of position on the grid, obviously down in 16, and Verstappen is right on his tail. Can Sainz help the Ferrari team out and just drive. Remember, Sergio Perez did that here in 2021 that very much helped Max Verstappen become world champion that night, along with several other aspects.
Yeah, good point, well made. That's Pierre Gasly down the inside on Nico Hülkenberg. The word coming from Ferrari before this race was that we're not going to ask Carlos Sainz to do anything that doesn't help him. If we ask him to do something, it's to help himself. And if that then helps the team, absolutely fine. But he's driving for himself and then the team. But at the moment, any form of defence here would be good, but I'm not sure there's going to be much defence against Max Verstappen.
This is for position. The Sainz hasn't hit it, and he doesn't defend that one too hard, does he? And massive undercut this evening, much faster on a new set of tyres, as we're seeing Russell now in the 1 minute 29. Ted's got some news.
Yes, so Carlos Sainz will feel the bit.
I don't get how you can undercut me with the other car. Really, car.
He's right.
You have to explain me, Chris.
So Esteban is 4.1 ahead. So we'll just focus on tire management. So a long way to go. We can make this work.
Not quite sure how they're going to make it work.
Yeah, I don't think that was the answer he was looking for there.
Because stopping Esteban Ocon 2 laps earlier lost Pierre Gasly about 5 seconds to Hamilton, and now what is it? 2 seconds to Ocon. So that phase, and it wasn't the quickest of stops out for Pierre Gasly. That's really cost him, and I'm with Pierre. I don't really understand the thinking behind that either.
The uppercut is powerful. We knew it wouldn't be stronger than the overcut, but it is fairly powerful here tonight.
Franz Tost, last race, there he is for AlphaTauri. It's had a number of names. He's getting yet another name next year as the team, and his car's leading.
Brilliant. Only the 6th time that Franz has sat the pit wall and seen one of his cars lead a Grand Prix since he started at Bahrain in 2006, and of course on 2 occasions with Pierre Gasly at Monza and Sebastian Vettel at Monza. He saw his car go on to win the race. What a night for Franz Tost this is, and for Yuki Tsunoda, and at this moment in time for Oscar Piastri, who's got past Valtteri Bottas and up into 8th place, and that's Fernando Alonso right behind in the Aston Martin, who rather started the sequence of pit stops that we have seen amongst the top 7 at the time. Who hasn't stopped? Tsunoda hasn't stopped, Stroll hasn't stopped, we're on board with his teammate Alonso, Sainz hasn't stopped, and Bottas hasn't stopped, and Bottas concedes that place to Fernando Alonso, who's up in the 9th.
Yeah, I mean, Alonso was very close to Russell, wasn't he? When he sort of dropped back a little bit in this phase now. I know he hit it early, did Fernando Alonso, but there's no doubt about it. McLaren and the Mercedes of George Russell have very decent race pace.
Absolutely. Piastri, I think, is struggling a bit more with his teammate. Fernando is definitely catching Oscar Piastri. There is George Russell. George Russell could be quite a factor in this race, unless he has put too much stress and strain on his tyres too early. That Mercedes pace with George Russell looks really, really impressive and podium kind of worthy impressive.
Yeah, presumably now Sainz will very quickly let his teammate through. They're on different strategies.
And Sainz will let you down.
And give you a slipstream and allow you to get some DRS, and that will help you a little bit as well. No further action. Hamilton and Gasly causing a collision when Lewis just touched the rear of the Alpine.
I don't see how he can really. I mean, he turned in on the racing line to Gasly, and that then has rather dispatched the Aston Martin in a hurry, hasn't it? There are no brake lights on Formula 1 cars. They would be utterly useless. They slow down so quickly. There's no point. You obviously see red lights flashing on the right, they're either for the rain or for harvesting electricity for the filling up the battery, basically. But we've never had brake lights on F1 cars.
They have to anticipate the actions of the drivers about 5 seconds before the brake pedal was pressed. Yuki Tsunoda continues to lead then this Grand Prix, putting a dent in Max Verstappen's chances of leading 1,000 laps in Formula 1 this season. He's been in the lead about the last 3 laps. I think he's had a few, couple of track limits warnings as well. He's gone over the white line, so he needs to watch that a bit. 4, you get a 5-second penalty. So Sergio Perez sets a new fastest lap of the race. He's down in 10th currently. We've got Sonoda, and we've got Stroll, and we've got Sainz, who haven't stopped yet, running in the top 10. That's George Russell getting past Carlos Sainz on the hard tyre. They're going long. Any safety car, there's about a 40% chance of a safety car. Would give Carlos Sainz quite the advantage. Daniel Ricciardo down the inside of Valtteri Bottas. Lewis Hamilton right behind these two. The Alpha Tauri ahead of the Alfa Romeo, ahead of Mercedes. Second quickest car last lap. And Toto Wolff giving his driver all the encouragement as Valtteri Bottas wants to go round the outside at turn 9 here. He's gone a bit wide. Ricciardo's going to say thank you very much for that. Keep that 11th place. And Hamilton, with already one part of his front wing hanging at a bit of an angle, almost got a bit of a dent on the other part of his front wing there.
But Daniel is flying along nicely. As Tsunoda pits from the lead, is Ricciardo came in on lap 7, remember, to get rid of the rip-off Kutirov and his breakdown.
So Yuki Tsunoda comes in to pit then. The key here is where does he come out in this race? Because whilst the undercut has been performed nicely by some to make positions on the track, and they're going for the overcut, going long at Alpha Tauri. He'll come out onto the racetrack just behind Daniel Ricciardo, Bottas and Hamilton, down in 12th place, but it'll be absolutely flying from here on in. Meanwhile, here's Lando Norris lining up a move on his girlfriend partner, Carlos Sainz. And Sainz is starting to struggle out there. He's been passed in the last 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, Sainz desperately trying to get those hard compound tyres firing up so he can then finish the race on mediums. It should come back to him a little bit later on.
Lewis Hamilton up into 10th. He's got past Valtteri Bottas now. Still Daniel Ricciardo ahead of him, but Yuki Tsunoda's got quite a few cars to clear. As that battle between Norris and Sainz continues onwards into turn 9. We're running on board with the Ferrari driver, and there is on the inside Daniel Ricciardo, the outside Valtteri Bottas, having a lot of fun down there, it has to be said, but scrapping away for the fringes of the points position. So that was Yuki Tsunoda getting past Valtteri Bottas. So he's now made up a place. Lance Stroll is ahead of Pierre Gasly down in 14th. He's now pitted, and that leaves Carlos Sainz, and it leaves Valtteri Bottas as the only drivers who haven't pitted in this race yet. Look how Sergio Perez has got close in the last few laps to Fernando Alonso.
So that's another set of hard compact tyres then, isn't it? So that's a 2-stopper for Carlos Sainz.
Because you've got to run the different compounds. He started on hard, he's on the hard at the moment, so it's a soft or a medium that needs to go on when he stops once more. 2.1 seconds, good stop time, that for Ferrari. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, indeed. I think the only person we're looking at potentially trying the one-stop is Valtteri Bottas, because Lance Stroll also put the hard tyre on Grofty, having run the hard tyre in the first stint. So Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly can only hope that Esteban Ocon is either going to try a free stop or is just going to get in trouble with his tyres, and Gasly will have a filter to try and close on him. He's not already doing it as we watch.
Ocon has just got past Valtteri Bottas up into 11th place. We're getting a lot of overtakes done this evening. We had 80 overtakes here. In 2022, it was the most of the last season. Fernando Alonso's got to watch himself here because Sergio Perez is all over his gearbox in the scrap for 6th place.
Something off half distance, but right now, if the race stopped now, Mercedes would indeed be ahead of Ferrari in the World Championship. There it is, 3 World Championship points. So that's how tight that's going to be through the rest of the evening. Alonso's doing his absolute best to keep Aston Martin in the hunt with McLaren.
Well, he absolutely is. Currently scoring 8 points for 6th, which would not be enough to take that 4th place. I did speak to Lawrence Stroll a couple of days ago, and he said, look, 4th or 5th, it's still been an excellent season for the team, and he has still performed absolutely brilliantly, especially in the first part of the season.
Yeah, very brilliant, isn't it? Only Alonso can keep Verstappen in view, really, unless Perez was on for. But then they lost their way, Aston Martin, and they found it again now.
Here goes Sergio Perez. Fernando Alonso didn't fight that one. He knew what was coming. Perez up into sixth. Verstappen and Perez and Alonso took 13 of the first 15 podium places this season. Such was their dominance in terms of podium positions since when. Verstappen, Perez, Hamilton, Alonso, Norris, Sainz, Leclerc, Russell, Ocon, Gasly, Piastri, 11 drivers, all on the podium.
Okay, here, so we did pick up some damage with that contact with Hamilton, but we are closing on the cars in front.
And so the under tray, a little bit damaged then on the back of the Alpine, just as the front of the Mercedes was damaged too.
This is Lewis Hamilton making the move on Daniel Ricciardo. Hamilton up into 8th place after starting at 11th in this race. And Max Verstappen, who before the pit stops was about 1.6 seconds clear of Charles Leclerc, is now 5.4 seconds clear of Charles Leclerc and pulling away lap by lap, putting in one of those Verstappen nights that we've seen on occasion this season.
Yeah, and Leclerc only pitted 1 lap later as well, so that's sheer pace from the Red Bull driver.
It's really close, Martin, between Mercedes and Ferrari. Mercedes at the moment have just got that second place. But what's better, to get the extra 10 million for two teams that are well financed, or to get the extra wind tunnel time that comes with finishing third?
You'd go for the second place, wouldn't you? And max out your wind tunnel and digital wind tunnel somehow. You've grabbed the glory, the pit lane position for next year, and I think it's important with your sponsors, team motivating everybody. You'll always take the result and sort it out later.
Show me the money. Show me the money. Driver swap for AlphaTauri. Sonoda gets past Ricciardo. Bottas hasn't pitted yet, is struggling.
Looks past his car right now.
Hamilton did a 1:29.3 on the last lap. Verstappen matched it with a 1:29.28, but he definitely is finding pace on these hard compound tyres. He's 5 seconds behind Fernando Alonso at the moment, but lapping about 0.6 of a second faster.
Yeah, and Russell's edging ever so slowly towards Leclerc in second place as well.
As Lance Stroll now sets a new fastest lap of the race, and that's Pierre Gasly getting past Bottas, who I said he's starting to struggle a bit. And this will be the driver swap between Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo, the two drivers on very different strategies here. And I did think George Russell, it looks like he had podium potential. A second place for George Russell here tonight would be a brilliant end to what he considers himself to be a very disappointing season.
Yeah, he says it's one of the worst seasons in his career, as how he described it yesterday.
Only one podium, which came in Spain, of course, for George Russell. And I didn't make a notice, 115 fewer points going into this race than he did last year. Now, one guy who's getting a lot of overtakes done is Sergio Perez, like last week in Las Vegas. And it's Oscar Piastri who is the closest car to him currently.
So, yeah, Sergio, the last 11 races, his average grid slot has been 10.1. He's really had a miserable time in qualifying, but started to really make up for it in the racing.
Slightly out of position when it comes to his starting place, considering the performance of his car. And he then finds a way to use it nicely during the course of the race. This is Carlos Sainz, just getting past Nico Hülkenberg and moving past the Haas up into 15th after his pit stop. Ted, what's some more Carlos Sainz news?
Yeah, it's steady progress. He needed to get past Hülkenberg. He'd been stuck behind him for half a lap. But Ferrari really needs Carlos Sainz to get back in to this. So he does need to stop again. So he's not relying on a one stop. He's got Valtteri Bottas just ahead of him, should be past him quite soon. And then, we'll see what progress he can make to add to Ferrari's points haul. But, it's only steady at the moment.
That wasn't steady. That was Sergio Perez getting past Oscar Piastri. Perez up now into 5th. On the subject of Carlos Sainz, don't forget, the closing stages of this race, he will have a brand new set of medium tyres on his Ferrari car, and everyone else will either be, or most Might either be on hard tyres that are quite used, or another set of hard tyres that they'll take to the end.
They will, but I just don't think Carlos Sainz has had the raw pace this evening. He's in the 29s, but he needs more than that down in 15th place. He needs to be siding his way through the pack, but let's see what he can do with a bit of clear air in front of him.
That's all important at this track. Try and get some clean air to run your race and not get stuck behind the cars in front. We're on lap 29 of 58, half race distance, and for Max Verstappen looking all rather nice at the moment. 6 seconds the advantage between himself and Charles Leclerc. We've got George Russell coming at him. The Mercedes and the Ferrari matching each other to within a couple of hundredths in terms of their lap times. Lando Norris is holding fourth currently for McLaren ahead of Sergio Perez. Perez dispatched with ease Piastri and Alonso, and now can make sure of Lando Norris in this particular stint and get that fourth place. We shall see. That is Lance Stroll. In front of him is Daniel Ricciardo, and Lance Stroll will get some nice DRS action about now as the rear wing opens up. Gives him about 16 kilometres an hour of extra speed, plus the slipstream too, and that is more than enough for Lance Stroll to get himself up into the points. So we got 2 Aston Martins and we got 2 McLarens in the points. McLaren currently winning that battle for fourth, but Stroll is catching him and trying to join in on the front.
Max Verstappen getting very prescriptive on the radio. I want 2 clicks of front wing when I next drop by to see you, please.
And a supersized soft drink, please, and maybe some fries to go with it, because this is looking a little bit easy tonight. Looking a bit easy, I'm sure it's not. But he has got this race under control.
Yeah, very much has got it under control now. Russell still just under 2 seconds behind Leclerc, as you can see on your screen. But I think we're back into that settle down a bit phase, aren't we? Until we get another round of pit stops.
Only one driver hasn't pitted yet, that is Valtteri Bottas. Seventh on the grid in Vegas, and then got into contact with Fernando Alonso on the first lap, but that rather ruined his Vegas efforts this season. As he pits now, actually, he says it's been hugely frustrating and very disappointing at times.
Leclerc has got his second track limit this morning. One more of those, and he'll be getting an official warning. And then he's got you go faster. If you run wide, you take more speed through the corner, you go faster. So that's why they're policing it so heavily.
And Lewis Hamilton, told by Toto Wolff, is the fastest guy on the track at the moment. He's about 3 seconds behind Fernando Alonso, lapping a couple of tenths faster on that previous lap than Alonso. You can see how he's made the gains over the last few laps. Lap 27, lap 28, certainly took a chunk out of Alonso's advantage there.
Toto's been very motivational lately, hasn't he, on the radio? Remember last weekend? Was he just last weekend in Las Vegas? He was telling George he was going to finish fourth, forgetting he got 5 second penalty, I think. But indeed, George did cross the line fourth, or slipping to 8th, sadly.
Last weekend in Vegas, here in Abu Dhabi to finish off the season. And plans for next weekend at all? What's the season highlights?
Season highlights to do, haven't we? To make December 6th, we'll make that. Lots going on.
You can enjoy Martin and Jensen and Danica, Simon Lazenby chatting your way through the 2023 season, which is the sun sets on the skyline here on Yas Island. And it is coming to its conclusion. With just, as Martin said, going through that little jabbing phase before a few counter punches are made and maybe some heavyweight knockout punches too, because we did see on the medium tyre degradation in the early parts of this race, which could yet affect things as we go on. James Vowles, the team boss at Williams, is listening in on the pit wall. How are the tyres looking, not just for you, but for others as well? Is degradation a big factor here tonight, James?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be an interesting race. You can see a couple of two-stoppers out there, a couple of maybe one-stoppers. It's going to be a long stint, and some definite one-stoppers. So I hope makes a strategy, which just tells you none of us really know what's going to be on for this.
James, if the tyres were more durable and more bulletproof, would we be getting better racing or worse racing, do you think?
I'm less worried about whether they're bulletproof. What I think will create better racing is removing the overheating that we sometimes see in these tyres. Because what that means is when you're close to the car in front, you slide around, you lose that time as the result. My personal opinion is I quite like multiple stops because it gives opportunity to shake the field up, but it can't be forced. There has to be natural regulation.
James, your battle of the championship is with Alpha Tauri. They need 8 points, and they need Tsunoda to square to finish 6th in this race. He's on a definite 1 stopper. With your data, do you think that 6th place is possible?
I think until a champion's flag drop, I'm not going to relax. I think it's a tall ask. You did a really good first stint. You saw he's in the lead of the race for a long time and not really being challenged. But there is degradation. You can see now with Ricciardo, he fell back there because he was getting front line wrong. And that's what you've got to look out for. There is a lot of wear on that front line.
Going to be biting those nails right to the checkered flag. James, thanks for joining us tonight for this season as well. Good luck for the rest of this race. Albon down in 15th and Sargent down in 17th currently. We just saw Carlos Sainz locking up a bit going into the hairpin. He's been on those hard tyres for very long.
You know, he's pushing hard. He's already had a lap deleted for track limits. So this is the phase of the race. He's still down in 14th place, still lapping in the 129s. But then so is Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, Perez, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Stroll, for example. Let's say he's not siving through. What can you tell us, Ted?
I can tell you that the Alpine stretchy soap opera was just about to have another twist, Martin. Because they were out for Esteban Ocon. He didn't come in. They went back into the garage. Now they've come back out, I believe, for Esteban Ocon. And I think he is now going to make a stop. So, yeah. Pierre Gasly will have to just overtake Ocon in the final stint if he wants to finish ahead of his team.
And it's Gasly that's coming in. So whereas Ocon got the treatment, Ocon got the preferential treatment beforehand, according to Gasly. He now gets the preferential treatment this time. Yeah, it's the right rear. Needed to be tightened up for a second time, 4.1 seconds stationary, and Gasly's going to come out behind Daniel Ricciardo, who was also just pitted.
Yeah, just 15 laps was his middle stint on those tyres for the Alpine driver. Now, they seem to come out of the pits and go hell for leather, don't they? Because they end up sort of wheel to wheel with somebody. Then they have to calm down a little bit and just eat a bit more life out of the tyres.
We're watching Lando Norris in the McLaren, who's not got the pace of the Mercedes here tonight and has been told to box. So a second stop in this race for Lando Norris. I think he's been struggling on those tyres for a few laps here.
It's really tight pitting there, really difficult corner. Let's say 22 seconds stop if you have overall loss, if you have a decent stop. Remember, he seemed to have some kind of bouncing or clutch issue when he came in last time. A little bit of vertical movement going on, wasn't it? But that's a much better, much more normal McLaren stop.
2.3 seconds. Normal was half a second too slow. For McLaren, that one, they'll come out behind Lance Stroll with Esteban Ocon now making his way through turn 1. You can just see him on your screen as Norris gets his foot down and comes out ahead of the Alpine of Ocon. Hulkenberg now pits, pushes Alex Albon up into 13th, who we can ride on board with Esteban Ocon right now. His tyres nicely warmed up. Norris getting the best of exits out of turn 5, but Ocon does seem a little too far back to make a move.
And Mercedes will surely have to respond with George Russell to that McLaren pit stop. McLaren driving that particular phase of the race. How long do they leave Russell out?
Well, I'm just looking out the window now. It all seems fairly quiet and calm down at Mercedes. But as I say that, they're scampering into the pit lane. The Mercedes crew absolutely responding to that stop by Lando Norris.
We've got a long way to go. There's 24 to go for this one.
He does like the question strategy from time to time, does George Russell. So this is to protect his position against Lando Norris, but potentially, Martin, to try and undercut Charles Leclerc.
Which is quite often reluctant to give up track position, isn't it? And it's cost him a couple of times, actually. But he's like, we just ease these tyres to the end of the race. But I think quite rightly they brought him in to give him some grip.
this is a critical outlet, I think, for George Russell, and I'm sure the team are explaining that to him right now, that he's come out onto the racetrack and he's got himself a little bit of clean air, but he's got to get past Lando, stay ahead of Lando Norris, but also go fast enough to try and get Charles Leclerc. And surely Ferrari are thinking, we've got to bring our man in.
Will be outlap critical.
Yeah, they're pushing on George Russell. I think they're going to be pushing on Charles Leclerc as well. But surely Ferrari are going to respond here, Martin.
I think they have to, don't they? George got a little bit deep into 6, but that's a nice drive out of 7. Yeah, it's as soon as Russell saw Norris in his mirrors, he would have understood why they had to put him.
And Norris has just set the fastest first sector of this race behind George Russell as they make their way through turn 9, and they are coming out of Ferrari. They're actually out already, waiting for Charles Leclerc. So this could be a bit different up. Can Charles Leclerc preserve that second place? Can his crew first and foremost do a really neat stop? Yes, they can. Out he comes, 2.5 seconds. That'll do nicely. Where's George Russell currently? He's making his way around the final turn shortly. As out now comes Charles Leclerc. That's Lewis Hamilton, who's come into the pits to make his stop. Leclerc out in 6th and does stay ahead of George Russell with Lance Stroll right in the middle of it. You can see it right there. Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll, George Russell, Lando Norris. Now this is going to get a bit spicy going down the back straight here. A little bit rowdy potentially. Lance Stroll is ahead of George Russell. Russell's got the DRS, gets past Lance Stroll. Lando Norris will want to try and do that, but he's not going to make the move here.
I think Stroll was pretty handy there for George Russell, saving some DRS, and now he's got to survive the next straight, but that is why Ferrari had to respond. It's oh so close.
Yeah, because his teammate might need it before he does. Stroll is getting in Lando Norris's way. It's a fight for position. He's entitled to do it. Lando Norris can't get past the Aston Martin there. And I wonder if Stroll held up George Russell enough for Charles Leclerc to preserve that kind of next second on the road.
Well, Leclerc came out, didn't he, with an advantage out of the pit lane. But I say, I think it at least gave Russell some DRS down the back straight. Probably not a lot in it overall.
We didn't see all of George's lap when he was out lap after the pits. I just get the feeling Stroll was a very handy car to have in the way as Alonso pits. And now Piastri makes his way out. A good stop time there of 2.2 seconds. That's the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, I think, that's just gone through. You can see in your shot. Alonso comes out just behind Oscar Piastri. So we're now seeing these second stops, and what should be the final stops, and we're still seeing Lando Norris trying to get past Lance Stroll here. And all the while, this is helping George Russell preserve his position ahead of Lando Norris. There goes Lando Norris now, and he finally gets that overtake done, but it's a lap too late for him.
Yeah, when he put in front of another driver like that, you could take the air off his front wing. And Hamilton is
right behind Alonso,
fighting Alonso as well. There we go.
But Hamilton has only stopped once. Fernando Alonso has, Hamilton has stopped twice, as has Fernando Alonso. So actually, since that front wing got damaged, Lewis Hamilton's pace has been pretty decent, especially on these hard compound tyres.
Yeah, and we saw that piece completely missing on Verstappen, didn't we, last weekend in Las Vegas? Look at the 42-year-old Fernando Alonso, 39 in January, I believe. Lewis Hamilton. I'm incredibly impressed how they find the motivation to keep training, to keep travelling, to keep pushing, to keep driving the team forward. It's extraordinary.
Absolutely is. Yuki Tsunoda ahead of Charles Leclerc. Tsunoda's on a one-stop strategy here. Leclerc should be able to get it down the back straight.
We have the slowest car on the street, by far.
And that has been evident this weekend. It's a bit draggy still at Aston Martin. Maybe needs a little less rear wing to give Fernando a bit more top speed, but he's losing that battle with Lewis Hamilton. At the moment, meanwhile, we see Charles Leclerc getting past Yuki Tsunoda He's on a one-stop strategy, might be a bit vulnerable as he's trying to chase that 6th place in this race to give his team the advantage over Williams in the championship. Ted, down to you.
Just looking down towards the Ferrari pit wall, that was a crucial move for Charles Leclerc because he's vulnerable against Perez later on in this race, isn't he, Crofty? With Perez doing a longer middle stint now on this hard tyre, and then has a choice of going, could he get back to the medium, maybe, or a new hard at the end? But that's going to be tight with Leclerc fighting Perez when Perez stops again, if he stops again.
I love this. Fernando Alonso says we're the slowest car down the straight by far. We didn't see the overtake, but we can see the result of it now. He's back ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
So he is absolutely right. And,
this is when they came out of the pits. Hamilton gets Alonso.
very right there.
Yeah, they just brake tested me. I got brake tested like right before the brake test.
Yeah, and also all over the road. Let's listen. They certainly did.
Now, Lewis Hamilton has experience of being brake tested. Remember back to Jeddah in 2021. That's how Fernando got past Lewis.
Big brake tested.
George Russell on the Yuki Tsunoda. That's George Russell up into 4th. I asked the question because we rarely see it. Will the stewards look at that, or will race control look at that and say, hang on a minute, that's all getting a bit hair and scare into the chicane. You've got Oscar Piastri ahead now of Carlos Sainz, ahead of Esteban Ocon as the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th. Ocon is coming back at Carlos Sainz. Piastri is a long way clear of this, and in the end Ocon has to give it up. And race control have just noted Fernando Alonso for driving erratic.
I'm sure Mercedes would have been on the blower to them. Yeah, so he was sort of zigzagging across the track and quite clearly off the throttle down into 5. They'll have all that data, but they can't look at that until after the race, I believe. I can't see how they... well, let's see what they think they've got up in the stewards' office, if they've got anything indeed at all, to penalise Fernando Alonso. He unquestionably moved slightly off the road and got out of the throttle.
You called it, Martin, by just listening to it. That lock up there from Oscar Piastri nearly cost him dear. Somehow stayed ahead of the 2 cars behind. And look at this lap, and has pulled out quite the advantage over Carlos Sainz and Esteban Ocon.
That's on the 28s now. That's a good pace actually from the Aston Martin. Might be slow thing down the straights according to Fernando Alonso, but decent overall lap time.
Yeah, making it up in the corners. And on that last lap, he was around about 3 seconds faster than Esteban Ocon, although Ocon, of course, was taking avoiding action, trying to get out of the way of a Ferrari and a McLaren. Lap 41 of this race. We've got race to lap 58. Max Verstappen has a gap of 16 seconds on his teammate Sergio Perez, who he says is more than welcome to pit before me. I wonder if he's doing that because he knows that he can only afford 3 more laps where he's not leading this race if he is to finish with 1,000 laps led this year. I doubt it, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, he's got so much time to think about somebody else's race. He's so comfortable out front. But Perez has used both types of tyre, so he's ticked that box on the regulations. But he put these on lap 17. How far his pace is really strong at the moment, Sergio Perez.
Oh, is Lewis getting on? Yeah, he's doing a good job at the moment. Having a fight of his own. How are we doing in the championship? Are we good? All we can do is the best race that we can do. We're fine at the moment.
Lewis is having his battle with Fernando Alonso. No further investigation needed for driving erratically, say the stewards. And the answer, George Russell, not that he can hear me, is at the moment Mercedes need another couple of points. If they're level on 405 at the end, then Ferrari will take it, of course, because they're the only team to have won a race other than Red Bull this season.
So maybe Fernando said, I thought he was coming through, I was letting him through.
Don't forget, Carlos Sainz does need to pit again. Let's just have a quick look at this. Logan Sargent with Pierre Gasly behind him, and Daniel Ricciardo going around the outside, finding himself in, looking in his mirrors, trying to look ahead, see what's going on, and at the end he loses a couple of places there to the AlphaTauri and the Alpine. Actually, Davidson, the Sky Race Control.
Yes, I've been looking at the keeping an eye on Yuki Tsunoda, the other AlphaTauri out there, and his race is with Oscar Piastri. Remember, he was fighting at the start of the race, and Piastri went onto a two-stopper. We know that Tsunoda is on the one-stopper, trying to make that work. So now Piastri is around 6 seconds behind him, and I'm not convinced this is really going Tsunoda's way.
Trying to go as long as possible, waiting for a safety car.
Right, that'll be Plan S or Plan VSC from the Ferrari filing cabinet of strategy options, and that's Lando Norris behind Yuki Tsunoda. Not anymore. He's up into 5th. 6th place is good enough for AlphaTauri to beat Williams in the championship, but behind Yuki Tsunoda, there are some that are lapping significantly faster as Fernando Alonso catches up with Esteban Ocon. This is the scrap for 10th. And I'm not surprised Carlos Sainz is a little bit lost because there's a whole mixture of strategies out there. Here comes Fernando Alonso. He's going to put his Aston Martin back up into the points once again. And Sergio Perez is coming in for a pit stop, which will mean Charles Leclerc will take over 2nd in this race. But I think he's going to be under pressure from Perez in the closing stages here.
I agree with you, because Leclerc was about 14 seconds behind on the track, 22 for a pit stop overall, and that puts Perez in a great position, doesn't it, in terms of fresh tyres and not that far behind the Ferrari. But there'll be other cars he's got to get through as well, like George Russell, Lando Norris.
Yeah. Don't forget, Red Bull started this season with a 1-2 in Bahrain. We've not had a 1-2 since Bahrain. They might finish it with a 1-2 here tonight, but Perez has got some overtaking to be getting on with as Lance Stroll comes into the pits, and Ted will head down to you.
Yeah, so with Lance Stroll coming in, that's a little bit of good news for Yuki Tsunoda. He has been passed by Lando Norris in just about half a lap ago, Crofton. So Lando was struggling with pace, but has now got past Tsunoda. Tsunoda has a stop now ahead of Lance Stroll, but they're giving Lance Stroll the lap times, or rather the laps, in order to have a go at Tsunoda ahead. Same with Perez. I'm expecting Verstappen to come in for his 2nd stop. In fact, he's doing it right now. He's right in front of him.
Excellent.
Well done. Very calm. Lewis must think there's 10 Alpines in this race tonight. He's constantly been just in front, just behind, or alongside an Alpine for almost the entire race.
Lewis Hamilton just been noted for a pit stop infringement. I'm not quite sure what that might mean. Could be driving too fast in the pit lane. It could be that he's been caught for pit lane speed. There normally follows a 5-second penalty to go with that. We'll give you more details when they come up on our timing page on that one. But the one person who has just been running his own race and not getting involved too much with anything is this man here, Max Verstappen.
He's been running Perez's race as well, hasn't he? He's like, yeah, he's obviously watching a screen somewhere, seeing Perez coming through. And, before me, I know I'm leading the race.
Here comes Perez. First one to bypass is Yuki Tsunoda. Perez up into 5th place there. Probably have more overtakes than anyone else tonight as Sergio Perez. Lando Norris is a couple of seconds further up the road.
Yeah, Tsunoda's got to do 36 laps on that 10 tyres. I think they've probably been a little bit overcautious here, trying to one-stop Tsunoda despite his pace.
And at the moment, Ferrari ahead of Mercedes then in the battle for 2nd in the Constructors' Championship. And they might be about to lose points here. Carlos Sainz is ahead of Fernando Alonso, but not by much. He's scoring 4 points as it stands, and he might just lose 2 points in this move. There's still a long way to go before we know the finishing order of the Constructors' Championship.
These two are often line astern, aren't they? I've talked about the Spanish drivers.
That is a question about could we do something here or not?
Yeah, step back.
So some kind of mapping on his steering wheel for the shifts.
Fernando Alonso stalking Carlos Sainz. And you're right, they are very close to get a lot of the track.
They seem to be, don't they, the suspension drivers, but Perez then, just 1.3 behind Lando Norris now. He's only 4.1 behind George Russell. Perez absolutely flying along on those fresh tyres.
He's got about 9 seconds to make up and pass Charles Leclerc. And I think he's got time to do it, given the pace that he's currently showing. It's the slowest car on the straights, honestly, says Fernando Alonso. And it's not fast enough to get past the Ferrari on that particular straight. He gets himself all out of shape going through the chicane.
Fernando, of course, was, when he was growing up, was Carlos's hero.
And just a reminder, we have 2 strikes for track limits. Understood.
That is something I don't know.
just say to him, please keep within the white lines there. It would really help us if you could. The Aston is clearly a stronger car than the Ferrari in the final sector. But down the straight, Fernando didn't have the pace on that occasion. Now, the FIA stewards are saying that they're going to investigate after the race Lewis Hamilton for pit stop infringements.
So that wasn't speeding then, was it? Otherwise that's clear cut. So whether it's crossing a line, a white line or something like that. But Sainz has had these tyres on since lap 23 and he's struggling a bit. And they're saying, we're waiting for a safety car to try and rescue this now. Hang on in there.
Anthony Davidson, Sky Race Controls, had a little look back at that Lewis Hamilton pit stop. He says, I can't actually see anything. As there goes Fernando Alonso down the inside on Carlos Sainz. That came from a little way back. I'm not sure whether Sainz was expecting it there or not, but that was a neat little move for Fernando. Can he stay ahead, though, going into the chicane? And he probably will do, you know, because, as you rightly said yesterday, Martin, that straight narrows down a little bit as you approach the chicane.
Yeah, you lose a lane there. It's a bit odd when you're driving it. But because of all of this swapping of positions and a potential penalty for Hamilton, should whatever he's done, this is all playing into that championship battle, isn't it? Mercedes versus Ferrari.
And don't forget that Carlos Sainz does have to stop again. So the points that he's currently scoring, all 2 of them, are going to disappear when he stops unless there's a safety car, and then he's going to have to make up a lot of places. Now, they're hanging on for a safety car, Martin. Do they need to stop Sainz and forget that plan and say, well, we're giving you a chance, maybe on the soft tyres, to really go for it at the end?
In a way, and maybe to get a point for fastest lap, you've got to be inside the top 10 to do that.
Meanwhile, Lando Norris, currently holding 4th place in the championship, might be about to lose some points as well. So here comes Sergio Perez, and you can start to think of chores now as he makes his way behind the McLaren with the DRS wing open. And gains and gains and gains, but doesn't quite gain enough, or does he? He's going to try this down the inside, Sergio Perez. Oh, they collide! And Lando Norris has to take to the escape road. They touch, they were trying so hard not to come together there, but maybe it was a little bit inevitable. And while that's happened, here's Lewis Hamilton making a move on Carlos Sainz, not quite into that particular chicane. And Pierre Gasly is another to have a pit stop infringement that will be investigated after this race.
Lando may well have to give that position back. He retained the position by going off track. We'll have another look at it, but look at Hamilton then steaming into turn 9 and right around the outside. Lovely.
That was lovely. Very nice indeed. Carlos Sainz, struggling, has got to stop again. I think Ferrari, they've got to bring him in, surely.
I think so, but that then is, let's keep an eye on this first. So, Perez, he did understand a little bit why Perez. And did he open the steering wheel? No, he's got the steering wheel. 6 of one, half a dozen of another, isn't it? Perez understeered wide. Was he ahead at the apex? Did he keep his car under control? Yes, he did keep his car under control. He did not run off the track.
He's going for it again. We might get a repeat here as Sergio Perez goes deep into the corner this time. It is a lot more clean, and he's ahead of Lando Norris.
Who's got the DRS though? So Norris has got the DRS, so Perez immediately has to go into defence mode. But that kind of answers the conundrum anyway, then doesn't have other contact.
So Lando Norris tries round the outside and can't get past, and the stewards are looking at Sergio Perez.
Yeah, but that's just dangerous driving. He had loads of space.
They are looking at Sergio Perez for causing a collision. I would say, Martin, it didn't look to me like he was trying too hard to give it a bit more left hand down.
I want to watch it. I want to be able to see his steering, if he opened the steering or not. We couldn't see it with his hands. We'll take a look at that while we're watching it, but I can't see how the stewards can penalise Perez there. I really can't.
Meanwhile, here's another McLaren going into that chicane, and this time it's Oscar Yuki Tsunoda, who's struggling on the one stop here and is down in 7th place. Piastri up to 6th, and that's not good enough for AlphaTauri in their battle with Williams. Right, pit stop infringements. Ted Kravitz is on the case and might have some news for
You're
us.
never going to believe this one.
But it's been a long season, and there's been a lot to try and believe. I'm open to anything.
Some of the mechanics didn't have their helmets down and were not wearing the requisite eye protection.
Right.
That's a new one on me.
350 races, Ted. I've never had that one.
So the two crews under investigation are the Alpine crew and the McLaren crew. The same thing.
Okay, so that's a team fine then, isn't it? They're not going to be giving 5-second
No, I
penalties for
thought it might be that Hamilton and Gasly didn't get into the fast lane quickly enough, and that might have been able to explain that it's very slippery pit apron here, and they couldn't turn left quickly enough. It might have been too close to the wheel hoses from the other team, but no, it's apparently because the lads didn't have their goggles on.
Well, that's got to be a fine, and that shouldn't be a sporting penalty on the track. Meanwhile, back on the track, there's Alex Albon ahead of Nico Hülkenberg and into 15th, and we're on lap 50 of 58.
You can't really claim it's dark out there either, can you? I might have to get you guys with this amount of light. But we'll keep an eye now then on Sergio Perez homing in on third place man George Russell.
Yeah, it's 4,700 floodlights around this track. It is very bright indeed under those lights. As around the final turn comes Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll is chasing him. Lance Stroll on the medium compound tyre here should be on course to take 11th, and there's Carlos Sainz ahead of him, who has got to stop again. So Stroll will be up into the points at some stage. And now Sergio Perez lap times doing about half a second a lap faster than George Russell currently. And he's 3.5 seconds back, and on the last lap they might just get a little convergence going on.
Yeah, some races we had yet.
There goes Lance Stroll, easily done, and up into 11th place. There's another pit stop infringement coming potentially, or an investigation for Verstappen, Sargent and Joe. I wonder if it's all for the same thing.
I think we have to assume so. Yeah. Somebody spotted something they want to make a point of.
Yeah, let me know how much you can help me take care of that. The rest of the maybe we can just try to talk if we see that we are not second in the constructors.
Understood.
Right, engaged.
Yeah, thinking tactically tonight, and they'll also be telling Charles Leclerc that Sergio Perez has a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. And Anthony Davidson on Sky Race Control, I think, is in agreement with that one. You'd like to see it again, Martin? He's probably seen it about 15 times.
Yeah,
Out of the onboard.
I gave it a few looks back at the Crofty without the trusty Sky pad up here. I did my best, but I felt like Perez could have probably done a little bit more. The stewards sort of felt the same with that, as he proved the second time around. And it was Perez was the overtaker, and I feel like forced him out of the car off the circuit. So I feel he's justified in that one.
Did he not put enough steering angle in, or did he open the steering angle?
I feel like he was struggling to slow the car down in the overtake, and I was expecting a bit more space. I think he gave him space, and I think if there's contact between two cars, it's fair enough.
So Perez fell behind 3.2. He does have a 5-second penalty. But he must not finish in front of us for the championship positions.
Well, yeah, you've still got Carlos Sainz's pit stop and see where he comes out after that. That will help. That will help George Russell and will help Mercedes, of course, because even if Perez gets past him, it's unlikely he's going to pull out a 5-second gap.
Absolutely. Max was playing beautifully into Mercedes' hands, but as you say, Sainz has got to pit again. Yeah, oh, that's so close.
Charles Leclerc will be fourth in the championship as well, because there's a battle of the Drivers' Championship going on for the places behind Verstappen, Perez, and Hamilton. This is like the Norris and the Sergio Perez incident. And this is what it looked like on board with Perez. Could he have done more to turn in? That's the question they would have asked.
Could have done more to turn in, but I wouldn't have been negative, but it's too tough.
He's got quite the lock on, but he's got quite deep into the corner.
He did momentarily open the steering up a little bit, but he was ahead at the apex. He kept the car on the track. He sang, look, Norris turned into me. He said, I think what did he call it at the time? 6.5 because of another, but the stewards have decided it's Perez's fault.
We're on lap 53 of 58. We're getting to the end of this long Formula One season, and we have all 20 drivers still running in this race. It has been a punishing schedule of 5 races in 6 weeks for drivers, for teams, for cars, and for parts. And the reliability tonight has been absolutely exemplary, it has to be said. And we're pretty much done with the pit stops, except there is one more coming for Carlos Sainz, as we just see Daniel Ricciardo making his move on Esteban Ocon. Ted Kravitz is down in the pit lane for us.
And the reason they, as we know, they're not doing the second pit stop, mandatory one they need to for Carlos Sainz is because they're doing the old goal hanging for a safety car. And it's kind of the last resort. You're desperate, isn't it, when teams do this, when strategists do this. I know they haven't got any other alternative, but even with the safety car say now, he'd still come back out around 15th and nowhere near the points anyway. So yeah, either way, I don't think he's going to score any points. Unfortunately, Carlos Sainz today.
He just hasn't had the pace. Missed FP1, had the crash in FP2. Lost a whole lot of running, and it's kind of showing, doesn't it, tonight, Martin?
Absolutely, yeah. It's really taking the sting out at the end of this race, hasn't it, with Perez penalty. Not that that's a reason not to give him a penalty, but so he's got to clear George Russell and then scamper down the road at a second a lap. He's going to make those 5 seconds up, but we'll see. He's got to get there first, hasn't he? But the thought of that Red Bull were pitted on lap 42, having enough pace to get down the road by quite a bit, is not out of the question. He's got to get past the Mercedes first.
I think he's probably got a full battery, Sergio Perez here, as he's chasing George Russell for third, so we've got a bit of extra electrical oomph down the straight. He's putting that to good use, isn't he? He's coming from a long way back here on George Russell, and he's almost climbing on the gearbox.
He'll be all over him like a bad soup running by the end of this straight.
I wouldn't know that all off years. Perez, again, this time it's not as easy to pass into turn 9, but we've seen it happen. It can be done. Where's he going to go? He's going to go down the inside into turn 9. George Russell wasn't really able to fight that one. Sergio Perez with DRS with an extra from the electrical charge has got himself up in the third.
And he's going to have 4 laps then to build a 5-second gap if he wants to stand on the podium this evening. Sergio Perez.
Well, let's see what he can do from here on onwards. Verstappen leads Leclerc by 12 seconds. The top 2 decided here tonight, but it's up to Perez to chase and build up a 5-second gap and see if he can stay ahead of George Russell for personal pride and also to maybe affect the outcome of the runners-up spot in the Constructors' Championship. Meanwhile, in the Drivers' Championship, Leclerc, 206 points. Norris, 205 points. Alonso, 204 points. and Carlos Sainz will be 200 or 201 points here. So Fernando Alonso currently behind Yuki Tsunoda and catching Yuki Tsunoda. This is quite personal for him to try and finish ahead of Fernando Alonso in the drivers' Lando Norris in the drivers' championship.
So we'll keep an eye on the sector times. Perez 2/10 quicker than Russell, but it's a very short first sector. It's the rest of the lap that really matters. If he wants to put 5 seconds out on the Mercedes.
So Ferrari have that runners-up spot. It's a 5-second margin that Sergio Perez now needs to give Ferrari that runners-up spot. So that's what we're playing for here. We'll keep an eye on the timing pages as much as we do the cars on the track. Alonso chasing Tsunoda once again.
Do you mean Mercedes have the runners-up spot? And Ferrari need Perez to beat Russell to swap that around?
I knew it would be confusing all this by the end of it. And to remind you, Sainz does have to stop. So he's scoring 1 point currently, but he does have to stop in this race. They're going to stop him on the last lap. So he's going to be out of the points, and that's going to make Ferrari's job a little bit harder too.
Yes, Sainz is going to drop at least 3 places when he pits.
Well, he's going to be caught, I think, by Lance Stroll in a few moments on the road. So they might as well just get Carlos Sainz back out into this race. But I think the time is long gone for Ferrari to try and salvage something with him in this race. Tsunoda, by the way, has set his fastest lap of the race, which will frustrate Fernando Alonso, who was in DRS range and is trying to gain on him on the track.
Tsunoda then 7th, just 1 place outside of what he would need to move AlphaTauri ahead of Williams.
And he's driven a super race tonight as well,
Yeah,
led the Grand Prix for the first time and has not done much wrong in that AlphaTauri. So here comes Lance Stroll, down into turn 5 we go.
So Perez tantalisingly 0.8 of a second faster on that lap. He might just do it. He might just do it for the final podium spot once he's had his penalty.
Let's see. Here comes Alonso on Sainz. Here comes Stroll on Sainz. Finally, he's told to box. And he's going to be out of the points. Come what may. Aston Martin. Oh, as Alonso gets Yuki Tsunoda for 7th place. Which means a lot to Fernando Alonso because that will take him ahead of Lando Norris in the Drivers' Championship. We didn't see it on the track. It might have happened down into about turn 11. I think that's down to turn 9 that happened. Let's have a look here down the inside. And he just couldn't hang on to any sort of defensive line over there.
Yeah, Alonso just thrust the car at the inside, didn't he? And left Tsunoda to make his mind up whether he wanted to have an accident or not.
There's your race leader, Max Verstappen, out on his own. Can't see Charles Leclerc behind him. He's 14.5 seconds down the road.
Tell me the gap between Checo and Russell. He does less than 5 seconds. I'll give him the skip straight. And I'll let him pass for the last sector. He's got 5 seconds anyway.
So what he's saying there is, if we need to give Sergio a bit more pace, I'll drop back and give him the DRS.
Yeah, so in other words, if Russell is with more than 5 seconds behind, I'll let Perez through.
And what is the gap at the moment? 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds between Perez and Russell. As the champion for a 3rd time, the championship leader, Max Verstappen, starts his final lap of the season and becomes the first driver to lead 1,000 laps during a Formula One season. And what a season it has been. We're riding on board with Lewis Hamilton. He's behind Yuki Tsunoda. He is gaining on Yuki Tsunoda. I'm watching the timing screen here. Charles Leclerc is just dropping back a little bit to try and give Sergio Perez a little bit of a boost to try and tactically help Perez to a 5-second margin. Look, he slowed down. He's let Perez get past him. Now, will Charles Leclerc slow down enough to stop George Russell getting anywhere near Sergio Perez? We saw this from Hamilton and Rosberg, didn't we, once upon a time? When Lewis Hamilton backed Rosberg into the pack, didn't stop him winning the title on that night in 2016.
Yeah, so Leclerc's given up 2nd place to try to help the team in the World Championship. But at the moment, Russell is within 3.6 seconds. It's enough with Perez's penalty. Leclerc knows Perez is going to get a penalty as well.
What is for sure, though, is that Max Verstappen has dominated this season and this race. It is another win, a 19th of the season for Max Verstappen. It is another consecutive win, a 7th consecutive win. It is another victory for Max Verstappen here in Abu Dhabi, his 4th victory in a row at Yas Marina in a year where there has been no Verstappen. Max Verstappen, what a year it has been for him. Meanwhile, Red Bull, who started the year with a 1-2 in Bahrain, finished with a 1-2 here in Abu Dhabi as Sergio Perez comes home to take 2nd place on the road. But that 1-2 won't count as Perez takes that 5-second penalty. Charles Leclerc comes home in 3rd place. George Russell 4th on the road. And after that, Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda, Lewis Hamilton, and Lance Stroll to take the final points place. Has the timing screen updated itself here, Martin?
3.8. Russell's within 3.8 seconds of Perez. So he will get that 3rd place. That's where he led him through. Knowing, of course, he's got to take a 5-second penalty. So he hasn't really given him anything. He just wanted to help out if he could.
And that is when Lewis Hamilton got past Yuki Tsunoda on the final lap, and he'd been behind him for a while. We can see it on board for Hamilton once again.
Another run there down. So indeed, then Perez 4th. Oh, look at that, Lewis getting a big armful of opposite lock, and that's why Tsunoda ended up back in front.
Absolutely. Sergio Perez finished 2nd on the road. The time screen has been updated. He finishes 4th with that 5-second penalty. Charles Leclerc comes home 2nd. George Russell comes home 3rd. And Mercedes take 2nd place in the championship by 3 points.
Indeed. Yeah, I love Leclerc's mental arithmetic there, and knowing he could try to give Perez a slipstream, let it through, let him get on with it. What he didn't do, which I'm pleased he didn't, was really hang back and try to hold George Russell up, because that would have been for position.
We were told there might be a few tactics at the end of this race.
All bishops. What a year. Well done, my friend.
Well, another unbelievable race, guys. Very lovely. And we did it. We should eat.
Yeah, Max, you have been absolutely mighty this year. 19 victories. You've led over 1,000 laps. You've smashed it out of the park. It has been an absolute privilege watching you drive this car that's been built by a team of brilliant people, and we're all incredibly proud of you. And it's a very, very special in lap. So take it in, enjoy every moment, and enjoy this last bit of
Yeah. Well, brother there, Christian, I mean, what an unbelievable year. So let's say thank you to everyone. I just want to say thank you to Franz Toast. He had a lot of us after his weeks, and this was his last race. So
well, Franz Tost was his first boss when he stepped in that Toro Rosso. And I remember his first season, Martin Brundle. China, I think, was the race where you said he'll be a champion one day, this man.
Yeah. He's a 3-time champion, and they don't need those tyres, they don't need the gearbox, they don't need the power unit, so you can do that.
Donuts on the grid before he pulls into P1, which he has made very much his own this year. Charles Leclerc pulls into P2 for the 2nd year in a row. It's Verstappen and Leclerc finishing 1 and 2. 9th year in a row, pole position, has won it. And he'll clamber out the car, Max Verstappen. I think he can go and put his feet up after this race. What a season it has been. Complete and utter dominance by this man. Just 3 races that he hasn't won.
Extraordinary. Consistency. The ease, like tonight, the ease with which he's able to be a sensational field of cars and drivers.
Once upon a time, Sebastian Vettel clambering out of a Red Bull, winning championships 4 in a row this win tonight. As he's congratulated by the president of the FIA, Mohammed bin Sulayem. This win takes him ahead of Sebastian Vettel and into 4th on the all-time list for the most wins. Sorry, into 3rd on that all-time list, behind Michael Schumacher and behind Lewis Hamilton. And I'm sure he'll sit down at some stage over the winter in his apartment in Monaco and just reflect on this year, the effort that is achieved to have all this consistency, but the returns that he has had for all that effort he's made.
Yeah, and he has to stand on the scales in front of tens of millions of people. It's not really what it's
in the Drivers' Championship, then, Verstappen ahead of Sergio Perez, the winning margin, a record winning margin of 290 points. I make that. George Russell finishing on the podium, his 2nd of the season here tonight. Sergio Perez 2nd, Lewis Hamilton 3rd. We knew that would be the case going into this race. Fernando Alonso finishes 4th on countback ahead of Charles Leclerc, because Alonso's had more 2nd places than Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris a point off in 6th, just 1 point separating 4th, 5th and 6th, and just 6 points separating 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, with Carlos Sainz coming in 7th.
Yeah, they've had an up and down season, haven't they? But Alonso, Leclerc, Norris, Sainz, and they ended up so close at the end. And it was good to talk to George on the grid walk. He says it's the first time I've spoken to him, but we're in a bit of luck. Yeah,
I'll talk to you a bit more often now. That is for sure. Constructors' Championship confirmation: Mercedes ahead of Ferrari by 3 points. McLaren ahead of Aston Martin by 22 points. Williams by 3 points, staying ahead of AlphaTauri. Alfa Romeo finished 9th. Haas pick up the wooden spoon down in 12th place. Alpine all on their own in 6th. Max just asking why did Sergio get 5-second penalty down there, and David Coulthard has a microphone in his hand, one-time Red Bull driver himself. Might have the same amount of wins as Max Verstappen, but he's down with the top 3.
On that 3rd place, well appreciated by the crowd here. That's made the difference. You have secured 2nd in the Constructors' Championship for the team, and that means a lot.
It means a huge amount. There's so many people back at the factory, Brackley, Bricksworth, who've worked so hard to achieve this. It's been a really challenging season. I've let the side down a couple of times this year, so pleased to bring it across the line today. It was tight with Checo at the end. I thought Charles was going to back me up, but respect to him for keeping it clean. And we can chill out now.
Yeah, you've got a sweat on your brow. You had to really fight hard there. You knew that Checo, very late in the race, got that 5-second penalty. Were you able to compute what was happening with Charles and the gaps, or were the team keeping you informed?
I mean, I came out of the pits on the 2nd set of hards. I was managing a bit, and then Checo just came from nowhere. So I don't know what happened there. They had great pace. It was really tense at the end. The tyres were dropping off, but just really pleased to have secured P2 for the team. And I'm sure everyone will have a few drinks tonight.
Well, you say that, but you also told me ahead of the Grand Prix you've not been feeling 100% for a couple of weeks. So
I was probably coughing 4 times a lap then, so it was pretty miserable out there, which didn't help things. But as I said, just a massive relief to have brought car home P3. Can't believe it's only the 2nd podium of the year, but really happy to end the season this way.
Well, it's a very well-deserved podium, and congratulations on behalf of the team. So we're just being joined by Charles as he applies all his jewellery. Very nice. Would you like to finish putting them on before the interview, or
sorry?
Would you like to finish putting your jewellery on?
No, it's okay. I can
hold it. Okay. Or is it a gift?
Sorry? No, it's not a gift. It's actually a sponsor.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just being generous. Charles, great thinking in the cockpit there at the end to allow Checo to overtake you. Again, I wasn't part of the final part of the commentary there because I was coming here to do the interviews. Was that something that you discussed with the team beforehand, or it was all in those last few moments?
No, it was all in the last few minutes because Checo had 5 seconds penalty, so we had to help him in a way for him to finish in front of George with the 5 seconds. So I tried to give him the DRS and a slipstream, but that unfortunately wasn't enough. So Yeah. On one hand, I'm really happy because on a weekend like this, honestly, there wasn't one thing we could have done better as a team. I think it was definitely not a given that we were in the second fastest car this weekend, but we did an incredible job doing everything right, strategy, qualifying. It's just a shame that we finished third in the constructors. That's all that mattered to me in this end of season, and we didn't achieve that. But yeah, anyway, I would like to thank the team for doing such an incredible work and for working so incredibly hard since the first race. We knew that it was going to be an uphill season because we lacked performance compared to where we wanted, but the team has done an incredible job pushing until the last race.
Yeah, we're here. Just put us back in the race start. There looked like there was two opportunities for you to go wheel to wheel with Max. Turn one, of course, and then down at the end of the back straight into 6. What was happening there? Because it looked like you'd done enough to get the pass done.
Yeah, I obviously wanted to try and get that first place, but we also know that in the race we lack some pace compared to them. So even if I would have passed Max there, I probably would have got overtaken again 3 or 4 laps. And at the end, my only target was to beat the Mercedes, so I didn't want to lose too much tire juice and also time with Max. But yeah, it was fun.
Okay, Charles, congratulations on finishing the season with the podium.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, at the end of what's been an incredible season for Max, unbelievable 19th victory of the year. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, of course, an incredible season. It was a bit emotional on the end lap. You know, it was the last time I was sitting in the car, which has, of course, given me a lot. So, yeah, I'm, of course, very proud to win also here the last race. But, yeah, I have to say a big thank you to everyone at Red Bull. It's just been an incredible year. It will be hard to do something similar again, but we definitely enjoyed this year.
It looked like it. And can I just compliment you on your donuts at the end?
Yeah, you told me how to do it. So.
Well, you did it beautifully and positioned your car there. Now, how would you reflect, beyond thanking your team here, this is where you won your first world title, you wrapped up your third much earlier in the season. Difficult to imagine it can get better than this.
Yeah, it will be very hard to have another season like this. We know that. Of course, you always want to do better, but sometimes doing better is not only race wins and potentially winning the championship. But we'll see. You know, we are working hard for next year to have again a very competitive car. For sure, all the other teams out there, they want to try and beat us next year, and we are ready for the battle. But in the meantime, we're going to enjoy a little bit this year as well.
Okay, well, Max, as you are the champion, maybe the final words to the fans that you've seen all around the world, not just here in Abu Dhabi, but it's been an exceptional year for Formula One.
Yeah, it's been incredible. You know, sold out in basically every place we went to. Great fan support, and again also here. I hope you guys enjoyed the race today as well, and you saw all your favorite drivers do well. And of course, thank you very much for cheering us on.
Well, Max, you have 97 days until it all starts again in Bahrain. Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you.
Not much of a holiday, but we wouldn't have it any other way, quite frankly. Can't wait till we get going for pre-season testing. Get to Bahrain, 510 miles down the road, across the road from here in Abu Dhabi, which is lit up to celebrate the end of another season, the 12th season finale here at Yas Marina. We've included an F1 season here more than we ever did in Adelaide.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's been a long, hard season. Next year is going to be longer again. It finishes December 8th or something. Next year's Formula One season. But what a season. These just dominant. And the reliability of that car as well has been extraordinary, hasn't it?
He's the only driver to have completed every single lap of every single race, Max Verstappen. And well, yeah, only 3 drivers have won a Grand Prix this year. Max, of course, Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez. It does tie the lowest total in a single year of Formula One. Sometimes you just got to stand back and say, yeah, well done. Take a bow. Consistency, excellence, domination. You had it from the start and never, ever let go.
It's what you call thermal degradation on those tyres. And it parks it perfectly.
Just like you going down the supermarket.
Yeah. Once you get a Formula One car pivoting like that, especially a good one, they're so beautifully balanced, they will actually go round and round all day until the tyres go bang.
Well, we'll see the drivers on the podium in a few moments. New podium.
Yeah, the new one. They're sort of
You've got 3 more than me then. Lewis, no, so you've got 2 more points. So maybe 2 points. 2 or 3 points. If you back me up, I think we'll
So which means that I almost back, yeah, that's the thing. I almost back you up, so I was worried that. I mean, it was a fine line because if I back you up, there's only like 2 centimeters between us.
Yeah,
and I could get overtaken by Checo.
Yeah, so that's
no, I remember why. And I just wanted to give him the speed stream and the DRS. At the end, how much was there between you and Checo?
That was second.
That was an easy race for you.
Russell saying to David Coulthard, he'd been coughing an awful lot during the race, and you can see it there. He had Esteban Ocon not 100% for this week in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it's awful when you start coughing in a crash and you've got the balaclava on as well. Is there, Monaco, Le Mans like, Monza like, the podium stretches over the racetrack.
Quite the overhang over the podium there. They'll be wiping the other side of that once the bubbly gets sprayed in a few moments' time. George Russell then for a second time this season, both for third place finishes, makes his way onto the podium. Charles Leclerc, sadly for him, winless in 3 of his last 4 seasons with Ferrari, but I think he finished strongly. Ferrari have a lot of hope for next year. And a 4th successive win in Abu Dhabi for Red Bull and for Max Verstappen.
The British national anthem, when is it? Since 1952. First time.
Hurts that.
Yeah, Red Bull are an Austrian registered team. So, British winner.
Yes, God Save the King hasn't rung out, but the Austrian and the Dutch national anthem has. Now for a 19th time. 575 points in 22 Grand Prix races, the most points total for any driver in the history of Formula One in a single season. The most podium finishes, the most consecutive wins, the most wins over the course of a season, and 1,000 laps led for Max Verstappen. What a year! And what a trophy cabinet he has built up.
Must have a trophy warehouse like Lewis Hamilton. Must be by now, let alone a cabinet.
He was quizzed as to show different parts of the trophy on social media, and he remembered every single one of them. Yeah, he's not won that much that he can't actually spot the trophies from a little part of it. It's second place for Charles Leclerc and for Ferrari, and it's a third place for George Russell and Mercedes. So the season, Martin, well, we thought, didn't we, testing in Bahrain that Red Bull had half a chance. We realised quickly into this season it was more than that.
Yeah, and we very much hope Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin, McLaren can close that gap over the winter.
There have been many memorable moments along the way, and for Max Verstappen, most of those have ended up with him standing on the top step of the podium. Quite simply, 2023, it's been the year that Red Bull and Verstappen have taken excellence to the max.
Did I detect a hint of emotion from Max Verstappen up on the podium? A 19th victory for him in the RB19 in a season of utter domination. He has finished where he started with yet another win to his name. Congratulations to Red Bull, congratulations to Max. They have been the class of the field in 2023, and despite everybody else's efforts, they were just untouchable and unstoppable. Smart drive from Charles Leclerc today. In the end, he finished second on the podium. George Russell in third, doing enough to secure second in the constructors for Mercedes. So congratulations to them. It wasn't a win, that belonged to Red Bulls in both the drivers and the constructors this year, but they will be back to fight next year. You can be assured of that. And it's not as far away as you'd have thought. It's 97.
Formula One coverage on ESPN is presented by Mercedes-Benz.
At Universal Orlando Resort, you do you. However you holiday. Hot chocolate, ice cold Coca-Cola, screaming days, unsilent nights. Make it merry, make some mischief. Make everybody happy with a Coke. This is your holiday hangout without holiday hang-ups. At Universal Orlando, set your festive side free. You do you. Florida residents buy a day, get a second day free. Restrictions apply. With the best movies in one place.